Alright, what's going on YouTube? Welcome to another Hidden Cup 4 qualifiers, this time Vivi, the Fed Dragon versus Ink, a long-time American player is what we're going to take a look at. Here are the home maps. It is actually in the order it was picked, but Bay and Slope are Ink's home maps, Cross and Hideout are the home maps for the Fed Dragon. Civilizations will be Chinese and Mayans are sniped from Vivi and Ink, and Aztecs, Mongols will be the global bands. Ink will be playing with Persians, Ethiopians, Huns, Britons, Vietnamese, and Franks for this series. Vivi will be playing Magyars, Japanese, Vikings, Khmer, Berbers, and of course Vivi's favorite civ, the Spanish. With that, let's get into game number 1 over here. So left side, we're going to have Vivi, the Fat Dragon, playing in a blue Vikings. Right side, we'll have Ink playing as Franks. So Vikings versus Franks, sort of a traditional Civ matchup over here. One thing that is extremely interesting to take a look at is that these Civs are both somewhat one-dimensional if you take a look at their unit composition. So the Vikings are very, very heavy towards the archers, Franks are very heavy towards cavalry, and at the end of the day, depending on the unit composition of the opponent, the other civ always has an answer. So this is not necessarily a matchup where, hey, after a certain point, one of the civs will be able to dominate the other. There's always answers from both sides. So, for example, when it comes to if we are seeing increased amounts of berserks, hand cannoneers, or potentially throwing X-Men can be a reasonable solution to that. Onagers could come from the Viking player. A response from the Franks could be Bombard Cannon to that. So, as I said, this is one of those matchups where there is no clear civ advantage when it comes to just unit composition late game. But I feel like in this particular player matchup where Vivi is supposed to be the favorite by a considerable margin, I would say that it is more likely that we're going to see the games decided in early game. It is not impossible that Ink is going to surprise Vivi. In fact, Vivi has had a pretty decent Red Bull Volo free performance, I believe, but he has been rather inconsistent in tournaments in recent memory. So, for example, King of the Desert free, which is an Arabia-only tournament, and Vivi is known as an Arabia player, he has been having an extremely bad series. Like, I remember there was a certain series, Vivi versus Tato, it was, which I think was the worst ever competitive series I've seen. That was full of disasters, full of misplays, very sloppy execution from both players. Tato actually rebounded from that, I think, even in that same tournament. Whereas Vivi, as I said, that tournament, I think he even got eliminated there. I'm not 100% sure, but I remember that was a quite disastrous series from both players. But Vivi did a nice rebound in Red Bull Volo for, I think, at least in the qualifiers, but I don't remember if he got into the main event or not. Anyways, he is still a clear favorite of this matchup over here, and he's also one of the fan favorites of the Hidden Cup series. However, he's not necessarily destined to get into the main event here. So one thing that you have to consider is that the Vivi is a very, very good Arabia player, super aggro, comes in with the towers. However, he's not so great on hybrid maps, for example. And the tournament has a lot of hybrid maps. Obviously, the skills are still there, but players that have a lot more experience in hybrid maps could actually outlast him. I remember that Hidden Cup 3, there was a show match before that with Hidden Identities, as Ink runs into the TC Fire over here. So, with Hidden Identities show match, I think it was a Tato versus a Vivi show match, actually. Right? My memories are a little bit outdated, but I think it was Tato versus Vivi show match, because I firmly remember Vivi landing on the island of the opponent, and it was pretty easy to guess who it was. So, for example, the way that Vivi played islands in that show match, as Ink is gonna have to vote that Voyager in as Vivi's scout is incoming. Get it? Incoming. Okay, so the thing is that Vivi, for example, often plays towers even on islands as well. So maps like that could be very problematic for Vivi. Whereas for Ink, he's a long-time player. He has never, well, not never, but in recent memory, he hasn't really been participating in a lot of tournaments. So we'll see what he can do. He's a high-level player, but not really an expert. he's definitely gonna have a tough time dealing with Vivi. I don't have the seeds in front of me, but I would imagine that Vivi is probably close to the top 10 seed, if not within the top 10. And Ink is probably somewhere around in the 50 to 64 region. So there is a considerable skill gap between these two players. That being said, as I said, I think the main weakness that Vivi is facing is that he is just not necessarily a super versatile player when it comes to playing with unconventional maps, hybrid maps. He's more of the beast on very, very standard maps, especially Arabia, sort of a situation. Anyways, it looks like Ink is going to be playing Men-at-Arms build over here. Indeed, that's going to be Men-at-Arms play for him. So playing a little bit of a surprise for his opponent. As I said, Scouts are like 99% what we're seeing from Franks, but Franks can actually play Men-at-Arms Scouts, Men-at-Arms Archers quite decently as well. The problem with the Men-at-Arms Archers from the Frankish player would be, I would say, that if you do Men-at-Arms Archers, the opponent, the Viking player, is just going to have a much, much better eco, and against Vikings, you kind of have to be aggressive and start pushing the Vikings in early to mid castle, otherwise their eco is just going to be so crazy that they will most likely beat you to Imperial and just snowball the game with Arbalest and Siege Ram. That being said, Vivi's base, or Ink's base, is still wide open, and I don't like the fact that this wood line is this open. I mean, it's nice that you're walling this part, but this is the less important part. This is the more important part to wall, because the town center would protect this area anyways, but this area is completely undefended, as we'll have militias coming in from both sides, but Vivi went for a 21 pop Man-at-Arms build, whereas his opponent went for a 20 pop Man-at-Arms build, and also Vivi has extra HP on those militias, because he is a Vikings, loses one militia, and he cancelled the Man-at-Arms upgrade in the final second. Did you see that? Man-at-Arms upgrade was almost done, but he realized, okay, I'm losing my militias, there is absolutely no point for me to get the Man-at-Arms upgrade, and here, in this situation, you're trying to snipe the opponent's scout, because that is basically the key. Being able to kill the opponent's scout like that is extremely important, because you deny valuable information. So I feel like if you are, as Vivi is technically, like, this scout could be trapped in here. This is what I was referring to. The Vivi has had some sloppy moments in previous tournaments, and a skilled player, like, let's say if he was up against a player like Hera or Viper, that scout would be trapped in there by now. So Man-at-Arms will not come in for Ink. He actually clicked on Man-at-Arms upgrade, but now he sees the archers. He probably knows, okay, this is too late for my Man-at-Arms. I'm just going to use my militia to try and chase down an archer, and that's basically it. And it's probably going to be Man-at-Arms skirms from Ink, because this is too late for him to add archers already. He sees that he's behind in archer numbers. So this kind of has to be skirmisher play from him, and indeed it is. Vivi is just chilling on that gold mine, checking out how many villagers are on it. This is extremely important, because this way Vivi can tell if Ink is going for archers or if he's going for skirms. So if you take a look at Vivi's POV, he doesn't see the range, but he can assume there is going to be a range, because his opponent was opening Men-at-Arms, and considering that there's only 2 villagers on gold, that pretty much means that the opponent isn't going for mass archers, he's going for skirmishers. Let's see what Vivi's response to that is going to be. If this is a prolonged engagement in Feudal Age, then there is a chance that we're going to see a stable from Vivi to add a couple of scouts against the opponent that is pure skirms. For now, Ink is just protecting these villagers on the hunt, tries to get a little bit of an extra for himself from that. Vivi actually was able to grab Horse Color here, which is, I think, a massive value. Oftentimes, with these archer builds, you aren't able to squeeze in Horse Color, and your farms will be sort of inefficient at the beginning, but this is beautiful from Vivi if you take a look at this. All the farms with Horse Color, and he also has double bit axe, and obviously wheelbarrow he's getting for free. So even though one might think that against an archer build the Franks will have the upper hand of having the more efficient farms with Horse Color for free for Franks, at the end of the day Vivi also grabbed that upgrade, so his eco is going to be better from basically most perspectives. The villager count is only different by 1, as Vivi, he has a sloppy moment over here. A house that's not actually up. He's not going to lose a villager to this one because he can run back to the TC. However, once again, here in this series, I would expect Vivi to win 3-1 or so. But Vivi's dream here is to qualify for the main event of Hidden Cup. But things like this things like the scout potentially getting trapped over there, those are not good enough against the higher level player. So once you get into the second, third round of the qualifiers, getting matched up against even seed 25, 30s as well, or potentially even higher seeds, then this is going to be extremely troublesome if you make mistakes like that. They seem insignificant, but losing a scout early like that could cause a lot of problems. An overchop or hold like that could cause you a lot of problems. And things like these could cause you a lot of problems. It seems like Vivi was completely unprepared for these skirmishers over here, and he's going to lose a couple of archers. This is actually pretty bad overall for Vivi. He's aspiring to go up into Castle Age here, so I think he's still leading this game. However, you see that this is once again something like seed 10-ish against seed 50-something-ish, which means that at the end of the day, Vivi should be dominating this series, and so far, he has been having a firm control over the games, but he has made some mistakes that he needs to clean up, otherwise he could have considerable problems against stronger opposition. That being said, Vivi will be walling his left side up as well. Right side, this is some ambitious walling over here, as he pokes down the scout from Ink. Ink dives in over here with the skirms. Skirms have +1/+1, and so Vivi's gonna have to leave. That's a nice quick wall from the Fat Dragon. Also takes the hill over here. Tries to minimize the losses that he's taking on his archers as he's trying to tank up until he reaches Castle Engine. Oh, Vivi didn't even have fletching on these archers. So Vivi went super greedy with that Castle Age over there, and he's going to pay the price. He's going to pay the price pretty badly over here, in fact, because the thing is that he wants to get up to a faster Castle Age here, but if Ink just says, okay, I'm gonna kill your archers, then that's it. Ink feels like he just wants to dive into the eco of Vivi, as Vivi is following this one with a train of villagers, joined up by this militia that I have no idea how it's alive, but it is still alive. And the thing is that Vivi is prioritizing defending his army over here right now, so making sure that he doesn't lose the archer numbers. And honestly, this could have been better for Ink if he actually kills that army, because if he kills that army, Vivi is up to Castle Age, but he has no army. Even now, Vivi is on 9 archers, which isn't an impressive amount, especially considering that those archers will have no defense upgrade, so technically skirms with +1/+1 can hold against them for a while. But Ink could have very well destroyed that army over there, and that would have been extremely devastating for Vivi. Now Ink dropping a stable over here. It's on the first stable, he's on the way to Castle Age. So I wonder if he's going to switch back into knights. And one thing that we have to always consider when it comes to knights versus crossbows is that knights, one unit actually means so much more power than a single crossbowman. So even though it seems like, oh yeah, Vivi has 12 crossbows over here, Ink is going to have a couple of knights out, and once he has like 5, 6, 7 knights at +2 defense, he's gonna have no trouble stopping this. That being said, this wall must not be broken through. You can actually, I think, do a market wall behind this one if you're Ink and you have the wood to do that, but that's not something that Ink goes for. I think he could have just done a market wall here, because I think the market is just enough. It wouldn't have been enough, but now it's too late. Now, the thing is that the tower is going to protect this gold mine over here for now, and it actually turns out to be a very, very nice defense from Ink. Double stables, he's got +1 defense for him, but the majority of his food eco is idle over here, and Vivi is going to try and camp these farms, and he will also try to push this wood line over here. Ink's got a safe wood line over here, but his gold miners could be exposed from the right side. This wood line could be exposed. There is an overchop over here, as Ink is trying to get some contingency walls in here. That's actually smart. He knows that this is a weak part in his wall, and he wants to make sure that Vivi can just break through over there. Ink up to Castle Age over here, gets knights out with +2 defense, even getting Boso as well. Other side, Vivi is going for a fast ballistics over here, so this is going to be 1 TC play from both players, and Ink is apparently buying a lot of food over here, so his eco was a little bit unbalanced, probably because he had to idle his vultures on the farms for a long time. So the thing is that Ink, if he gets up to about 6, 7, 8 knights, he should have no trouble cleaning this up, even though now it's 17 crossbows, so it's getting scarier and scarier. But maybe Ink could have considered defensive siege workshop. Now it's a little bit more troublesome, as there is crossbows inside his eco, and that's an early pop. That's too early for Ink. 4 knights will not be able to clean this one up, even with +2 defense, and the problem is that now you're gonna have to wait for the next couple of knights to come out. And as I said, this might be a GG moment here because there's 2 more knights coming in. Is he gonna edge this victory out? Vivi, I think, also has the hill over here. And Vivi seems like he's given up on this army, but now comes back and micros this a little bit. Next knight's almost in, but as I said, just barely insufficient from Ink here. And that's gonna be a lot of dead villagers, which is not something that you can afford against Vikings. Oh my god, look at the body. Look at that pile of bodies over there. And Ink immediately calls the GG. That feels bad because I feel like had he waited for like 2 more nights, it's a tricky situation because his woodland was getting pushed and he knew exactly that he wasn't able to hold that. Where did those crossbows even get in? There was a hole here somewhere, right? There had to be, because they broke through here and didn't even pay attention to that. But yeah, that was the main concern for Ink, because otherwise he was pretty much walled up behind. And that would have bought him enough time to get 2 or 3 more knights on the field to clean this up. Obviously, now that he has had the crossbows inside his eco here, he kind of had to make the decision. If he pops the knights and they are not enough, he loses the game. But if he doesn't pop the knights right away, then the crossbows will just get to his wood line, the gold mine. And with this hill, all the villagers on wood and all the villagers on gold are dead. So the thing is that he had to make a decision. The bigger question is how did those crossbows get through there? That's something I missed. But luckily for you, YouTube viewers, you can actually scroll back in the video in case you're interested in that. And with that, game number 1 is in the hands of the Fed Dragon, and that means that we're going to the first home map of Ink over here. Franks are gone for Ink, which was his final civilization pick, by the way, Vikings. Apparently a middle tier civilization for the Fed Dragon. And with that, we will be jumping into the next game over here, which is going to be Bay. So to Bay we shall go, and we will have, oops, that's the wrong scene, and we will have apparently a color change from Ink over here. He changes from red to purple. We're going to have Ink playing as Persian on the right side in purple, and the left side is going to be Vivi playing as Japanese in blue. 2 of the more standard civilizations when it comes to Bay. Japanese faster work rate on the fishing ships, higher HP helps immensely. And Persians, obviously, faster working docks, faster working TC is also extremely helpful. One of the underrated bonuses I would like to point out, though, is the Knights bonus for the Persians. So the extra attack against archers can be extremely helpful. However, Japanese is one of the civs that can actually deal with that pretty nicely, because they do have very, very good pikemen, even without having a lot of upgrades on them. Those Japanese pikemen are pretty scary. So if this is like an archer versus knight fight, then Vivi can mix in pikemen pretty easily, and they will be able to devastate the knights from Ink. Take a look at the maps over here. Ink's got a very, very exposed gold mine over here. This is definitely one of the more disadvantageous map generations for him. The wood at the back is nice over here, and this gold mine is alright-ish. And technically his base is rather vulnerable, but this gold mine concerns me quite a lot, because this could be exposed for early raids very easily. And since you're going for early fire galleys, most likely, it is very possible that you will need that gold. The question is if your opponent is going to be able to push it, because oftentimes we can see players trying to go for like fire galleys, but also at the range back at home and send just 2 archers forward. And 2 archers on a gold mine like this could pretty much mean that Ink loses that gold, and that means that he loses the water fight. I would like to point out that Ink's got a lot more deep fish on his side of the map. Vivi is actually missing 2 tiles over here. This is actually a map generation bug, glitch, feature sort of a thing. And as far as I know, it will be fixed for the main event. So T90 and Krazini are aware of this. It's not ideal that it makes the water a little bit more unbalanced, but as I said, for the main event, as far as I know, maybe even the second round of the qualifiers, it is going to be fixed. Anyways, other side, Vivi actually has a reasonable gold mine over here. Berries are on the front, which is not nice, and the stone is very, very far out as well. But other than that, it is a relatively vulnerable map for him, and that's an early loom for Ink. So Ink knows that Vivi might actually try to intercept that villager that goes for a dock, and Ink is gonna go for the safe way of playing with Loom. He could just say, okay, I could have my scout over here defending, but instead what he wants to play the greedy game, and he tries to get a Vulture kill here from Vivi. Let's see if he's actually able to isolate the Vulture. We will try to quick wall this. And Ink, nice job so far. Vivi running around still. Vivi actually trying to quick wall, but you can't quick wall on the shallows. Vivi's gonna lose that Vulture. That was interesting, let's say. And I honestly like Ink's play here a little bit better. That being said, Vivi's got more HP on that scout, so Ink cannot take this fight. But if you are sending your scout forward to kill a villager, you might as well grab Loom for yourself, because if your opponent is doing the same thing, you would just lose your will, right? So at the end of the day, Ink is going to be able to get a 1 villager lead over his opponent, and also keep in mind that Persian dogs and TCs work faster, so the villager production is also a little bit faster for our Persian player over here. And for now, it looks like Vivi is going to disengage. Ink is going to have a 6 HP deficit in the Scout War. So now that the deer patches have been spread out a lot more compared to the Hidden Cup free version of Bay, Mongols are no longer the only exclusive Civ to play on this map. It used to be when there were bigger patches of deer, so I think these two were pretty much combined. Everybody played Mongols here just for the sake of hunting, and it looks like Vivi wants to just harass those fishing ships, which makes some sense here. He has the HP advantage in the Scout War, which means that Ink cannot just bring in his scout here and kill that scout, and that means that he could actually just patrol here as well and hit the fishing ships. That could also be an idea for him. Ink apparently stopped making fishing ships over here, whereas his opponent is already on 4 soon. So I wonder what's the plan here for Ink, as he's going for some heavy walls. He could definitely afford another fishing ship, so this makes me wonder if he will try a land push or something like that. But this Vulture is probably going for a second dock, but only 2 fishing ships for Ink feels like an underinvestment, and it looks like he just wants to kill this scout over here. The scout will just be running away, so this is not really going to work for Ink. So this kind of has to be a second dock as well. He's gonna beat Vivi to Feudal Age a little bit, so technically he could use his scout to finish off Vivi's scout over here. And he takes a good engagement. He takes a very, very good engagement against Vivi, who's low in HP now. If Vivi doesn't bring that scout all the way back to his TC, he's going to lose it to the faster scout once Ink reaches Feudal Age here. And he wants to fight in the water, but in that case, I'm asking the question, why is he only making 2 fishing ships? Maybe he couldn't afford it because of all the voling, but 2 fishing ships isn't really an awful lot against Japanese that have faster working fishing ships, and they also have 4 on the field. So let's see if Ink is actually able to disrupt that dock. He might be able to. Technically, that Voyager can kill that scout, because that scout is... Can he? It's actually pretty close, depending on how the scout micros it, but Ink, he's waiting for Feudal, the dog goes up so he can't delay it, but he might actually try to get another Voyager pick over here. As I said, it's pretty close. The scout is getting 4 per hit. Yeah, this is a one thing the Voyager wins. I don't know how Ink thought about that. Because it takes 10 hits to kill a Voyager with 40 HP from a Scout, and that Scout only has 27 HP, which means that it only took 3 hits from a Voyager to kill it, so I'm not sure what Ink thought. Maybe he thought he's got a little bit more HP, or the Voyager isn't going to hit that hard, but at the end of the day, he loses that Scout, which is a extremely valuable Scout over here, and we are gonna have Fire Galleys coming in here from Ink. However, as I said, his opponent is gonna have stronger fishing ships over here as well, which means that it's going to be awfully hard for Ink to just kill these fishing ships over here. He will try to, but this is gonna be, as I said, super, super challenging for him. And Ink going for more Fire Galleys over here, but he seems like he's already losing water. We have to wonder if the investment into the Vols is actually worth it for him here, because I think that's setting him back quite a bit. Now the fishing ships will have to move out to the other pond, like they can't just idle here. Indeed, Ink sends them back to another patch of fish, and the Vivi already has a demo out. In this situation, what you're trying to do is potentially demo snipe the Voyager, because that could be an idea, or you can just go and demo those Fire Galleys. That would be a perfect demo from Vivi, and it is a perfect demo from the Fat Dragon. And that means that 1 Fire Galley goes down. Ink is losing the water really fast over here. Like, awfully fast. And in fact, many of those Fire Galleys are very weak right now. So, Vivi could potentially finish these off. Ink with some nice micro on the repairs, but there goes one. Demo pops out for Ink. Nicely separated ships by Vivi over there. Sacrifices one ship for the sake of the rest. And there's already the next demo coming in here for Vivi, who is heading back for repairs. Remember that Vivi still has 4 Japanese fishing ships working for him, whereas Ink only has 2. So even though Ink technically killed a Voyager from his opponent, at the end of the day, the eco is much, much better for Vivi. And there's the thing, Ink is trying to demo snipe the fishing ships, but you can't really demo snipe Japanese, especially considering that the splits were very, very nice from Vivi over there. Demo comes in here, also sort of inefficient over there, as Ink loses 1 fishing ship over here. Vivi is still fine, and he's got another 2 fire galleys coming out here in a moment. And right now, it is 5 fire galleys versus 3 over here. And as I said, Ink is trying to sink those fishing ships, but it is a very, very slow process. And I wonder if he's starting to realize that he's about to lose water, because it kind of seems like it. And even if he doesn't lose it, it's 34 eco against 30, and having 4 extra Voyagers during the entire duration of Feudal Age is an extremely huge advantage for Vivi. So the fact that he's got his fishing eco working well for him, whereas Ink only having 1 fishing ship working, is an enormous thing, I would say, for the Fat Dragon. Now he needs to retreat a little bit, and he is getting another demo out for now. His food count is looking slightly better than his opponent's food count, and he's playing wide open, and more importantly, he is getting an archer range out. Ink is getting a blacksmith, interestingly. I'm not sure what the blacksmith is for, because it doesn't have military production buildings, and there is no blacksmith upgrades that would actually influence the fire galleys over here. So I really wonder what the blacksmith is for, other than going up to Castle Age, which obviously is something he cannot afford. So I have no idea what the blacksmith is for. I could understand the market, I could understand the barracks, I could understand anything but a blacksmith here. Anyways, that's some nice demo hits over there from Ink, and he seems like he's evening out the odds on water. And it looks like Vivi is also down to 2 fishing ships, so Ink actually had a nice job compensating for his early losses, but the demo could be very devastating as well. And now Ink has lost all his fishing eco, and as I said, this demo could just try to dive in and snipe that Voyager over there. A little bit for lag spike, but nothing super serious. That's a nice demo over there from Vivi, but that is insufficient. And remember that Ink still has the 2 Persian docks working for him, only 2 docks for Vivi, and it seems like Vivi isn't really bothering on securing water anymore. He's getting just demos. I think he wants to kill that Voyager, but these are some very, very awful demo hits over there. So it seems like after losing his own fishing eco, he might just say, okay, whatever, I don't need water anymore, I want to push on land. He has gotten a nice little eco advantage from those extra fishing ships, and indeed now he's massing archers, so he's just waiting for the opportunity. I wonder if he knows that Ink is walled. He technically knows it, I think. So he probably is aware that his opponent, if you start walling up like this, you probably already have walls up front over here as well. So Vivi likely knows that his opponent already has walled himself up quite heavily. So the next question is, how is he going to proceed? I could see him waiting until Castle Age and waiting for crossbows, but who am I to tell? He's bringing in the archers. He's not really going to be able to get through the walls easily, but he might force a defensive tower on the gold mine. Both players getting close to quick up Castle Age here, and it's worth noting that Vivi still has 2 fishing ships working for him, which once again is immensely helpful. In fact, the pond is running out of fish anyways, so it is it's somewhat possible that both players will give up on the water at some point, because even if you win water now, what are you going to benefit from it if there is no fish? Obviously, you can do fish traps, but that's an investment anyways. So the real advantage that you're getting from the ponds is, you know, being able to take the deep fish immediately. And that's mostly an early game advantage. Nice demo shot over there, but Vivi also lost his Voyager. So another Voyager goes down over here. Ink so far is having a nice time until the archers show up. Castle Age will be coming in here for Vivi, and apparently Vivi didn't notice the Voyagers here on the wood line. He's trying to walk in, and oh, that was so sloppy. This allowed Ink to realize what's going on. If Vivi was just paying attention to this screen, he would have killed a lot more Voyagers before Ink reacts. He picks off one. Ink is already on the way to Castle Age. Vivi is still a little bit far away, to be honest. The extra investment to archers obviously impacts his eco, but now Ink is gonna have to react. And the thing is that you either make skirms here or you're trying to hold out until you can get to Castle Age and Knights. And then you can just destroy those archers with Knights pretty easily. Now, as I said, he's going to be able to force the defensive tower over here from Ink, and that's a stable. So what Ink wants to do is make sure that those archers don't get into his brace, and then once he reaches Castle Age, pop out the Knights that have the extra attack against archers. Vivi is stockpiling ships over here. He still has the fishing ships for him, by the way. That's crazy. +1 defense on the way for Ink. There is no overchops over here, and luckily for Ink, he has a back wood line, which is extremely helpful right now, because it seems like the other 2 wood lines could be denied by the archers, and there should be no overchop there. Anyways, Vivi may be heading back once he sees that his opponent is up to Castle Age, and he's gonna wait until he will be able to get his crossbow upgrade as well. Eco-wise, it is actually a 5 vultures difference, but you also have to add that Ink is gonna be up to Castle Age faster, so it's something like 3 or 4 vultures difference more likely once Vivi reaches Castle Age, and he's getting more and more ships out. He will try to get a vulture here to repair that dock, so he still wants to reclaim it. Pops out the fire galleys so that his opponent's fire galleys will cluster up, and then pump ups the demo, and those were some nice hits over there from him, but at the end of the day, this is still somewhat insufficient to secure the pond for himself. Ink still has a fishing ship for him, and in fact Ink might be starting to add fishing ships over here. Indeed, that is the case. Whereas for Vivi, he seems like he's now finally losing the water, even though he's just not willing to give up on that. Anyways, now it's going to be Knights from Ink, so we are seeing a very, very similar setup to the previous game. It is going to be Knights versus Crossbows. Vivi getting Crossbow Botkin, immediately Monastery to get some conversions in the second TC on the way for him. And in the meanwhile, he's going to try and get the water back for himself. So he's still not giving up on this, which could be problematic for Ink, because Ink is trying to establish a fishing eco over here, and he's investing into that still. But Ink is going to be playing 1 TC, and will be relying on the water a little bit more than his opponent, who is going to be on 3 TCs on land. So Vivi might not necessarily need water as much as his opponent does. Defensive Siege Workshop as well for Ink, goes for a Scorpion. And it seems like he stopped producing Knights over here, so he probably just wants to focus on securing the water for himself, and then potentially getting some more fishing eco out there. Anyways, that's a nice vulture pick over there from Vivi, and right as he sees the flags on the Siege Workshop, he's going to disengage and wait until potential vulture shows up for a forward Siege Workshop himself. Here comes another big border fight. Nice demo over there from Vivi. A lot of the ships from Ink are super weak, and Vivi also has to disengage with some of his ships, but once again a good demo hit could actually help immensely. This demo is just going to sink 2 ships over here, and Ink is going to try and sink this high HP ship over here. So the water is still completely open for anyone, to be honest, and so far neither of the players really try to push the opponent's land base over here. Ink is just playing defensive gameplay over here with Siege Workshop, Knights, and Scorpions, whereas Vivi is playing the booming game. So I think that Vivi is happier with this position right now, because eventually Vivi is going to take over in terms of vulture count. Plus, you also have to consider that Ink's woodline at the back eventually is going to run out. So at some point, Ink is going to have to come out of his base, which I think happens just now. Knights will come in right now. Only +1 defense on these guys though, but they will have to kind of fight this, and this is tricky for Ink. Because the Scorpions, I think you have to delete this wall and send the Scorpions all the way back, because the thing is that the crossbows will try to just keep going through these walls, especially considering that the Knights only have +1 defense. Now it's +2, but once again it's 4 Knights, a nice low choke point would have been very, very helpful if you have the Scorpions over here. Now they're actually firing, and I think Ink should be able to clean this one up here, because the crossbows no longer have anywhere to go. So this was enough from Ink. It got scary for a moment, because if those crossbows break through that wall, they will just be able to run into the eco, and the Knights alone, I don't think they could have taken that engagement without the Scorpions' help. Anyways, on the water, interestingly is the fact that both players are still fighting on the water, but neither of them are actually willing to commit to the War Galley upgrade. But as I said, it's not like Vivi has to. Vivi is just fighting water just to make sure that his opponent cannot fish boom. And now, it is an 11 Vultures lead in the favor of the Fat Dragon. Ink coming in here with TC number 2, securing another wood line for himself, which is extremely helpful. And remember that he's got Persian TCs to work faster, so in even town center count, Ink is going to be able to catch up overall. I like this crossbow quite a bit, just camping down this relic, making sure that if Ink comes in there, he's going to be able to intercept it. Knights and the monk will just pass each other over here. And it looks like Vivi already is heavy on the relics, tries to convert 2 knights. He is gonna get 1, and he gets 2. That is an absolutely marvelous scenario for a Fat Dragon. Either has the Japanese Spearman attacking faster, but he still loses 2 monks over here, so even the Japanese Spearman wasn't able to save the day. But there's quite a lot of Scorpions here that could be caught off guard if the Knights venture forward, which is something that they do not do. And in fact, Vivi is already planning to go into Imperial here. Look at that. Free TC, boom. But behind this one, he had an extremely strong eco. He's gonna go up to Imperial, and now it's going to be potentially multiple ranges and Arbalasts. So, very, very passive on the land were both players, and surprisingly, we are still seeing fire galley fights over here after 30 minutes on this map, and in fact, deep into Castle Age. Indeed, Vivi clicks into Imperial. Ink, on the other hand, he had to invest a lot into his upgrades, so he had to get +2 defense, he had to get Bloodlines, he get a Siege Workshop, Defensive Tower, so obviously Vivi's eco was pretty much untouched for the entire game. He lost his fishing ships, but that was all, and that was something that Ink lost as well anyways, so that's not really a big deal. It's a very low HP fire galley, so you don't want to have your demo attacking that. And it looks like Ink, once again, will be able to push away Vivi from the fishing over here, and it looks like, look at Vivi with that relic yoink. He's just going to get that relic away from his opponent, and Vivi could be sitting on 5 relics in this case, because this is definitely the hardest one to grab, and Scorpions will come in to take the shot. This monk isn't going to be able to escape. Technically, if you would turn out the monk right now and drop the relic, you would block that passage from the knights. That would have been something for Vivi. That's like super, super advanced level, and obviously it's not even worth bothering with because the monk probably still gets killed. But if you turn around here, drop the relic, that blocks this single tile crossing, which means that the knights will have to find another way around, which is all the way around here or all the way around here. So if the knights start moving in that direction, you can kick up the relic and try making a run for it. That would have been fun to see. Anyways, these are just some very, very small things and really completely insignificant, to be honest. Because Vivi, in the meanwhile, will be picking up the rest of the relics as well. Ink is making his 3rd TC right now, but I have no idea if he knows that his opponent is up to Imperial. I don't think that he's expecting Vivi to be up, because this is a rather fast Imperial Age, especially considering that Vivi has 3 TCs. But Vivi now adding villagers to stone, which means that we're going to see a Castellan based on the fact that he's going to have the military advantage in the next couple of minutes with Arbalest and Bracer. Unless he loses all his crossbows over here, which would be a very, very premature engagement. And an absolute disaster for Vivi. He needs to wait at least until Bracer. Bracer crossbows are good enough against Castle Age Knights, but you kind of need that over here. Nice conversion coming in here, and I think Ink knows that this is going to be Arbalest in a moment now, because he sees that nice quick wall over there from Vivi. That's beautiful. Makes a house so that the choke point is narrower, which means that less knights are able to access these crossbows. And now it's Bracer, and you see that how fast those knights are dying now. They do have Tumbling as well. So I think Vivi edges out of this fight over here. This was risky for him once again. So what I want to say is that he's going to have the military advantage right now, which means that he could start thinking about dropping a forward castle whenever possible. Scorpions no longer will hold well against the Arbs, same thing against or for these knights over here, especially when chemistry kicks in, when defense upgrades kick in, and it's going to be awfully hard now for Ink to do anything against this army, to be honest. In fact, he's adding more stables, but knights don't stop Arbs. That's a golden rule of life. Knights just aren't able to do that. And it's not like Ink's eco is bad, it's a matter of Vivi and Imperial is a huge power spike over here. And even if Ink goes for just full cavalry, Vivi could tech switch into pikemen, and that would already be enough for him, to be honest, because Japanese pikemen will be extremely powerful even in Castle Age, let alone Imperial if you get something like maybe Halberdier or the +4 attack bonus, whichever you prefer. They don't even need to be fully upgraded to beat these knights over here. They just need something from Imperial Age and they will just dominate them. Maybe even in Castle Age if you have good numbers of those pikemen. Anyways, Ink keeps selling, but this is just a downward spiral right now. Like, you have to take a very inefficient engagement to survive, and you have to spend all your resources on military, because otherwise you die. And that's the problem, that he's not gonna be able to go up into Imperial because he has to spend everything he has on army, because he's taking so bad engagements. But he has to take the bad engagements, otherwise he just dies to the Arbalests here. So that's the problem that he's facing, and we're already seeing Rams coming in here for Vivi. As I said, if the knight numbers increase, I can totally justify a pikeman switch from Vivi. In fact, maybe he's already thinking about that. Moving out with a lot of Voyagers, I wonder what these guys are for. It seems like he just wants to drop the TC over here. Ink calls the GG, and Vivi takes game number 2 over here as well. Pretty convincing so far from the Fat Dragon. Let's take a quick look on the civilizations. So Japanese are gone for Vivi, and we have lost Persians for Ink. So we will be getting to his second and final home map over here, which is Slopes. So with that, let's jump in there, and I'm going to welcome you to Slopes. We are going to have Ink on the left side playing in purple Britons, interestingly. Right side is going to be Vivi as Magyars in blue. So as I said, after the nerf or change in the pawns on Slopes compared to Hidden Cup 3, the meta for this map is pretty much unknown. So you have seen people experimenting with various civs, including Ethiopians, Britons, Vietnamese. You have seen traditional scout civs. I would think that the traditional scout civs are a little bit better over here, because the map is quite open, and that's probably the reason behind Vivi picking Magyars over here. Although Magyars are also very, very good when it comes to having a archer play, a man-at-arms play, a cav archer play as well. So Magyars actually give you a lot of versatility on this map, but it's either man-at-arms opening or scouts opening from Vivi, who is sending out Voyagers one by one. This is something that, as I said, I don't like, and this is a mistake from Vivi, because his opponent could be lurking for his Voyagers over here, and I can tell you that if I was Vivi's opponent in the next round, and I would be watching these recorded games as a preparation, the first thing I would do on Slopes is send my scout to Vivi's pond, because I want to see if he's sending Voyagers one by one, because you can easily intercept one Voyager like that, and that would be a nice early game advantage. So Slopes is definitely one of those maps where really no one really knows what exactly you kind of have to go for here. So there is going to be a lot of different civilizations attempted by players. It looks like Ink is playing a standard way of doing this. So 6 on sheep, and he doesn't actually even need 6 on sheep because he's Britons. He could get away with 5. But anyways, he's going to be having Voyagers on sheep and then Voyagers on wood, and then he will potentially send out Voyagers to take the hunt here on the outside, or first the shorefish, of course. Although he may think that, hey, the shorefish out there is just so exposed that I do not really want to move out there, and I'm just going to take my berries. This is basically a huge risk-reward situation over here, because this is very, very risky to move out for the shorefish here, but the benefit you're getting from it is actually pretty nice. A lot of extra food at the beginning of the game, and especially for Magyars that don't have a Dark AG components, that helps immensely. It's squeezing in something like a 20 pop scouts build, and based on the fact that Ink is up against Magyars, I did assume that he's just going to go for the berries, and the reason why is because Magyars can devastate you very early on with their scouts. The +1 attack helps immensely when it comes to killing Voyagers, plus they also have cheaper scouts, so you kind of have to assume that Vivi is going to have a relatively fast fuel age over here, especially if he's on the pond. And then scouts could be coming in earlier than you would expect, and you could lose Voyagers here on the outside. But this means that Ink's eco is going to be weaker than the one from Vivi, because Vivi is going to have a lot of extra food over here. And in fact, Vivi hasn't even lured in his second boar yet. Now he soon has to start sending a Voyager out, and let's see if Ink is going to try and block that Voyager. I think that's what he's waiting for. The scout indeed comes in here, but a little bit mispositioned, so he's going to be too late blocking that will. Other side, Ink is bringing in his own boar as well. Vivi sees that his opponent has his mill on the berries, which means that Vivi knows exactly that there is no Voyagers here on the outside. This is an extremely important piece of information for Vivi. So the fact that his opponent is not on the outside is very, very valuable as an information right now. Vivi goes up for a 19 pop scouts with, as I said, Magyars can pull off a very, very fast scouts play here. And considering that Ink is probably going to get beaten to Fuel Age, it's going to be quite troublesome for him to defend his Voyagers early on. Now, against Magyars here, I would think that Ink is going to open Man-at-Arms, and he will hope that his Man-at-Arms will trade fairly decently against the Scouts. However, as I said, the thing is that Vivi will not want to trade here. Vivi will want to wall himself at home and run around with the Scouts and hit the eco. So that's the problem that Ink is facing, that if you're playing Man-at-Arms versus Scouts, the mobility of the Scouts is something that you always have trouble with. Indeed, 2 on stone or 2 on gold. And that should be a Man-at-Arms build indeed from Ink. So the real question is if he's actually able to hit Vivi's eco with the Man-at-Arms before his own eco would be potentially destroyed by the Scouts counterattack. The thing is that I still believe that Magyars are more versatile than Britons here, and that's also something to consider. So Vivi can play something like Scouts and Skirms, and Ink probably wants to play Man-at-Arms Archers, but this is what I said, Britons are somewhat one-dimensional towards Archers, which means that if you play with a lot of skirmishers, Britons will have a tough time against that. Obviously, Britons can mix in a couple of their knights or go for siege workshops, but I feel like the Magyar Knight and Skirm, or Scout and Skirm, is something that Vivi is going to have a huge advantage from when it comes to, you know, comparing it against Ink's army composition. Anyways, there is the stable coming in for Vivi, and Magyar Scouts don't just get the free attack upgrade immediately, they also get cheaper. So the Magyar Scouts opening is extremely devastating when it comes in. It comes in super early, especially on such a map. Vivi was able to come in 19 Villagers, or 19 pop actually, it was 18 Villagers, 19 pop fuel. It's also cheap Scouts, so you can actually get quite a decent amount of them early on. And most importantly, they all have the +1 attack, which means that they're better than the Scout of Ink right now. And they're also much better at killing Villagers, which is a very underrated thing when it comes to discussing them. Ink is trying to wall himself up over here. We'll see if he finishes the walls in time. I think he will not finish the walls. Oh, that's so bad for him. I think he even saw the Scouts coming in. And as I said, the extra attack matters a lot. Because with the extra attack, it takes 8 hits to kill a Villager. Without the extra attack, it takes 10 hits to kill a Villager. So you actually decrease the amount of hits needed to kill a Villager by 2, just by having that extra forging on that Scout, and that is immensely helpful. That makes Magyar Scout basically the best early raiding unit, and you see that Ink is already down by 3 Villagers, and the Man-at-Arms will not really be able to do much. It's much easier to quick wall against these early Man-at-Arms, or at least you have more time to quick wall, I should say, because Man-at-Arms will get through walls a little bit easier than Scouts do, but you will have a little bit more time reacting to Man-at-Arms than you have to Scouts. So the mobility of the Scouts is something that you kind of have some trouble with. And Vivi takes a hit on one of his Scouts, but he still has some over here. The Scout from Ink goes down, and let's see if Vivi is going to wall in his wood line. A lot of these Man-at-Arms are already weak. I think some of them ran past the TC, and Ink, it seems like he's not going to commit to knocking down these walls. And in the meanwhile, it looks like these Scouts will find the gold miners, and at least another Voyager should be going down here. And as I said, that 8 versus 10 hits difference when it comes to killing a Voyager is awfully lot. So yeah, Ink's army right now is idle because he's busy not dying. He lost 5 Villagers already, and this is starting to be a situation where if you combine the fact that Ink lost 5 Villagers with the fact that this is gonna be, I think, a 6th one over here getting killed immediately, and the fact that Vivi already had the hunt on the outside, I feel like once Vivi cleans this push over here up, and it was a nice move from the Villagers, taking the poke on the Man-at-Arms, you should be using your Villagers to kill the Spearman, so that wasn't perfect for Vivi. He could have just tried sending him 5 wheels and tried to damage the Spearman or snipe it off. Wasn't ideal for him, but at the end of the day, he cleans this one up, and as I said, he's possessing a nice and confident 9 Villagers lead, because it's one thing that he killed 6 Villagers from Ink, The other thing is that as he kills another one, he also forced a lot of T-Saddle time. So Ink is at 125 T-Saddle time, which is another 3 Vultures. So that's why there is a 10 Vultures now lead now for Vivi, which honestly starts to become insurmountable for Ink. So Vivi now is going to add another stable. So in this case, he's probably going to get Bloodlines, and he will just overrun his opponent with Scouts, which is technically doable, as Ink finally wants to go for that range, but just based on the timing of that range, you see how much damage Ink's eco has taken, because that archer range should be up by now. Like, in fact, there should be about 5-6 archers out by now for Ink, but obviously he wasn't able to afford it because he was taking some very, very significant beating in his eco. This scout is actually pretty important to keep alive, because this scout would prevent any revooling from Ink. So let's say if Vivi wants to break in here, then Vivi can use this scout to prevent the Vulture from getting up to these walls easily. And really, Vivi is just trying to be annoying with those scouts, but I think he's just waiting for the group of scouts to pile up, and he will unleash them onto Ink's base. It seems like Vivi is still not getting +1 defense for his scouts. Now starts adding Vultures to go, so Bloodlines will eventually occur. And Ink opens up his walls, now rewalls it for the time being. But as I said, Ink is technically doing decent on the food department. That's something I'm gonna give him. So if Vivi is not pushing him, there is a chance Ink beats him to Castle Age. And we're going to see a couple of crossbows, which could be causing headaches for Vivi. But I feel like once Vivi brings in the cavalry here, Ink is just gonna get annihilated. I think Vivi is just waiting for Bloodlines, probably. Should be able to afford it by now. Splits up his scouts. I wonder if he's looking for the Vultures on these spawns, because he might actually try to probe those and see if his opponent has anything over there. And nope, Vivi just goes for towers. So scouts and towers, not something that you frequently see, but Chinese players, especially Vivi and Yo, are players that often use this strategy. And the archers move out at a very, very bad time, to be honest. They will get intercepted by the scouts. Ideally, Vivi would want to wait until Bloodlines kicks in, and even scareboarding, so the ideal scenario for him would be to wait. However, you can't underestimate the fact that, indeed, Ink is just laughing at this. He opened up his walls, and as I said, this wasn't an ideal fight for Vivi, even though he would have won it. Ideally, you wait until you have Bloodlines and +1 defense in this situation. However, this opening was just too good for Vivi to give up on, and Ink knows exactly that he has just opened the gate for those scouts to run inside. Vivi takes a pretty convincing 3-0 win over Ink. Vivi had some sloppy moves, especially game number 1. Game number 2 and game number 3 were much cleaner. In fact, game number 2 was very, very good from Vivi, even though the fact that he wasn't able to dominate water is sort of an alarming sign, because even though Ink is a good player, there is probably some very, very high level of water players that could cause you a headache if you are kind of able to tie the game on water against Ink. That being said, Ink had a nice little performance over here, but Vivi just has proven better in every aspect of the game. Game number 1 could have gone a little bit differently if those crossbows don't walk into Ink's eco, but obviously, even then it would have been an uphill battle for him because he was up against Vikings with an insane eco. So with that, thank you so much for watching this, and hopefully you enjoyed and you will stick around with me for the rest of the qualifiers.